Okay, how many opponents are there? Okay, if just before we get started, if I give you each a minute and a half, that's going to run us till about 10 to 12 or 10 to 11. So we'll do that. Please be concise and don't continually repeat maybe what somebody else has said. Give us one quick thought. So with that, we'll open the hearing on House Bill 425. Representative Monforton.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good morning again. Good morning, members of the committee. My name is Matthew Monforton, House District 69, and I am bringing to you for your consideration House Bill 425 because I believe that the lives of unborn children are sacred, and the Constitution of Montana should reflect that. I don't want to spend a whole lot of time taking up time from other folks who have devoted their lives to this issue, so I do want to bring up one legal point that comes up, and that is, how does this, if this amendment to the Constitution were enacted, how would it interrelate to Roe versus Wade? And I want to share with you a provision in the text of that reprehensible court decision that I believe plants the seeds of its own destruction. In Roe versus Wade, the court, towards the end of the opinion, stated as follows. The state of Texas argues that the fetus is a person within the language and meaning of the 14th Amendment. In support of this, they outline at length and in detail the well-known facts of fetal development. If this suggestion of personhood is established, the appellant's case, i.e. Roe's case, of course, collapses. For the fetus's right to life would then be guaranteed specifically by the amendment. Roe conceded as much on re-argument. And for the attorneys in the room, that site is Roe versus Wade, 410 U.S. 113 at 156 and 157. And that was Justice Blackmun in his majority opinion. HB 425 picks up where this provision of Roe versus Wade leaves off, and that is, it establishes as a matter of constitutional law in Montana that an unborn child is a human being from the moment of conception. And it does so by amending Article 2, Section 17, the due process provision of the Montana Constitution, which would make all unborn persons human beings and subject to the rights and protections that all other human beings in the state of Montana have. I want to point out that this amendment, if it were enacted, would not outlaw contraceptives, and it would not mean that all miscarriages are going to be investigated as murders. What it does mean is that the sanctity of life would be enshrined in the Constitution of the state of Montana, as it should be. So at this time, Mr. Chairman, I will sit for questions and allow testimony from folks who have devoted their lives to this issue. Thank you.
Thank you. Proponents, just be aware of the people behind you and
Yes,
know
sir.
that you only have about 20-25 minutes.
Okay.
So.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, my name is Annie Bukacek, B-U-K-A-C-E-K. I'm a physician in Kalispell and president of Montana Pro-Life Coalition. I stand in support of this bill. I'm here to argue the scientific arguments for personhood, and I'm going to be very brief. I would send you to my website, montanapro-lifecoalition.org, for more detail on the arguments for personhood and also unborn child development and what abortion is. So in 1973, the year of Roe versus Wade, it was known that human life begins at conception. That's not philosophy, it's not theology, it's not political ideology, but scientific fact. That human life begins at conception was not argued in scientific circles at that time, nor is it today. The unborn child has its own distinctive genome. Separate from the mother, at conception, the entire genome of that child is present and will be at birth and beyond. So gender, hair, eye color, and other heritable traits are established at conception, and that's scientific fact. By classic dictionary definition, a human being and a person are the same. Personhood is not logically based on age or developmental stage. In 1973, Well, first I want to say what viability is. The viability of the unborn child is when they could survive outside the womb. In 1973, it was 26 weeks, which is this. That was in 1973. Currently, the viability is 20 weeks. So logically, that 21-week baby right there was just as much a human person in 1973 as it is in 2015. Viability is based on medical technology available and does not determine personhood. It's conceivable, as our medical technology further develops, that even this 12-week baby could be considered viable. So each of you, everybody in this room, everybody in this whole world, is no more human now than you were in the womb. Little was known about the life of the unborn child in 1973. Soon thereafter came an explosion of technology, such as hysteroscopy, electronic fetal monitoring, EEG for fetal brainwaves, and more sensitive ultrasound that would show, even at this very young age, movement, and showing that they can taste, they can see, hear, and they can feel pain. Current scientific knowledge makes it crystal clear that through abortion we're eliminating unborn members of our human family. This is not about allegiance to a political party or its platform. It's about your capacity to acknowledge that killing innocent humans is wrong. It's about the acknowledgement that if any segment of our human family is considered disposable, we're all considered disposable. As slain civil rights leader Martin Luther King Jr. said, injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. It's imperative we acknowledge we made a mistake, face the reality of the unborn made clear from science and technology, and declare that personhood begins at conception. It's the only logical and humane stance. It's the only stance that promotes the dignity and value of every human member of our family, or every member of our human family, and I urge you to support House Bill 425. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Further proponents?
Thank you, Chairman Bennett and members of the committee for making time to consider this bill. I'll be respectfully brief. My name is Cal Zastrow, C-A-L-Z-A-S-T-R-O-W. My family and I are Christian missionaries to China and around the U.S. I first moved to Yellowstone Boys and Girls Ranch to begin ministry there in 1982. We've lived off and on in Montana since then, but mostly off. I still retain my registration and I vote in Yellowstone County. Last Friday, you heard the testimonies of people for and against the death penalty. You are now thoughtfully considering your duty to protect every innocent person. Some of you cried Friday because the beating hearts and the measurable brain waves of confessed convicted murderers were stopped. You nodded in agreement. You sympathized with families who are so hurting because one of their loved ones is on death row, awaiting possible fatal punishment by the state of Montana. Even religious people came in support proposed legislation to stop the state-sanctioned killing of prisoners who have raped and tortured children to death, because even those prisoners are persons, human beings, made in the image of God. We all heard the quotes. Let's promote the culture of life. More violence is not the answer. An execution cannot be reversed. Condemnation was heaped upon the state of Montana and our violent culture for over an hour, because 15 murderers have been put to death by the state of Montana over decades. There was but one point that the liberals and conservatives, those seeking justice and those seeking mercy, agreed upon. One point. No innocent person should ever be condemned and killed. Every year in Montana, over 2,000 persons with beating hearts, measurable brainwaves, fingers and toes are brutally killed by surgery with the sanction of the state. Are they criminals? How guilty are they? No, they're innocent. They're preborn children, just as human as you and I. You just heard Dr. Bukacek's testimony of how we are all fully human, fully alive at the moment of conception. How tall you'd be, eye color, personality type. It's all there at conception for all of us. If you really want to stop the violence, if you really want the blessings of the Lord God of peace upon us, then recognize the personhood of every human being, especially children. It's the culture's job to protect children by love. It's your job to protect them by law. Will we call out for more blessings from God? The blood of the slaughtered children cries out for justice. American courts have unjustly opined in history that tribal people and then blacks, they were living, but they weren't protected by the law because they weren't classified as persons. I mean, even at the start, our forefathers, They considered black men to only be 3/5 of white men, and that not for their legal protection, but just for the census. Nobody's reproductive rights should include killing the children that have been reproduced. Let us be the first state in America to recognize and protect mothers and children together. Please vote yes on 425, recognizing the personhood of all Montanans. With the chairman's permission, I'll present written copies of my testimony to the committee.
Please do. Just hand it to Representative Lazalafi.
Mr. Chairman and members of the committee, my name is Anna Ritchie, R-I-C-H-E-Y, and I'm from Kalispell. I am here on behalf of myself and the women and children of rape conception. That is usually one of the major exceptions that gets put into any kind of bill like this. I am the one that most pro-choicers like to throw out there to defend their position. I was raped as a child. I became pregnant the first time when I was 12 by my stepfather. He gave me a forced abortion, and because of that abortion, he was able to continue molesting not only me, but my younger sister for another year until I became pregnant again when I was 13. This time, because of that pregnancy, I was able to tell somebody else and get out of there. My daughter saved my life. I know many people try to say that the rape exception is acceptable because they feel sorry for the rape victim and they want her to be able to move past this and get on with her life. And I am telling you, because I have been on both sides with the abortion and with the living child, you cannot unrape a girl. Her innocence is gone. You can't fix that. With having the abortion, you are taking away the one light, the one source of joy, the one bright spot that she can have out of the darkest, most horrific situation that any woman can face. And I can tell you as a mother that my daughter is beautiful and intelligent. My daughter is absolutely amazing. She may never be famous, but she is nearly 20 now. She just gave me my first granddaughter. And those who know her cannot imagine life without her. And my daughter deserves the protection afforded to any other person. She did nothing to deserve death. And also, I do need to tell you that by supporting abortion in the cases of rape, you're hurting girls like me. If abortion wasn't accepted in cases of rape, I wouldn't have had to go through another year of abuse. It wouldn't have hidden his crimes. So please, the lives of thousands are in your hands, including the lives of children like my daughter. Please, please take the time to consider this. There's so much more I'd like to tell you. I know time is short, so if it's all right with you, Mr. Chairman, I have my written testimony. I have my contact information on here. Please contact me. I will answer questions day and night, anything.
Thank you. Please
Thank you.
pass that up. We have about 12 minutes left.
Mr. Chairman, representatives, good morning. My name is Suzanne, that's spelled S-U-Z-A-N-N-E, Brooks, B-R-O-O-K-S, from Whitefish, Montana. I would like to say initially that it's my belief that 3 people create a baby. You have the man and the woman, and from them the baby gets its physical characteristics such as the color of hair or the color of eyes and that. There is a third person involved, though, and that is God. God creates the soul. Unless a soul is created for that baby, there is no baby. And the powers of the soul, we are taught, are the ability to think and to rationalize, to make decisions. That puts us above the animals. Now, that being said, I would like to tell you about a case in another state, the state of Alabama, where they had a child endangerment law that if you used chemical drugs such as cocaine, or you had drug paraphernalia out, and you were found guilty of that there was a child that was endangered by that, it was a felony. So there was a woman who was using cocaine. I will refer to her as the petitioner. She was using cocaine and she became pregnant. And she continued using cocaine throughout her pregnancy, and she was charged with the child endangerment law. And the law specifically said you cannot use a chemical drug in the presence of a child, quote, child, unquote. So her child was born, healthy baby boy, except for the fact that he tested positive for cocaine. So she wanted this charge lifted from her. She didn't want this on her record, and she hired attorneys to fight this, and they went to the state appellate court in Alabama, and her argument was that the law was ambiguous, that child did not refer to the fetus in the womb or the unborn child. It didn't specify that. Now, the state appellate court ruled against her and found her guilty of this child endangerment law. So then it was appealed to the Supreme Court of the state of Alabama. And in an unprecedented case of an 8-1 decision, they held that the child in the womb was a person and was entitled to the right to life, the inalienable right to life that is guaranteed to us by our Constitution. Well, it's not actually guaranteed by the Constitution. It's a precedent to the Constitution, as you all know, saying that we all have the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, and that these are inalienable rights that come from our God. Now, there, as I said, there was an 8-1 decision on this in favor of the state, saying that the child had been endangered. But one of the judges, the Chief Justice, Roy Moore, he wrote a separate opinion. And he said that, and I would like to quote him, in his concurring opinion, he wrote that the unborn child has an inalienable right to life from its earliest stages. Excuse me, this gets me very emotional, as you can see. From its earliest stages of development. And he said, I write separately to emphasize that inalienable right to life is a gift of God that civil government must secure for all persons, born and unborn. And you know, that makes sense, because if a child is born prematurely, and there are children, I know of a case where a child was born 3 months into development, and with good medical care developed, and that child is now in college. So if a child is born 6 months prematurely, you would say it's a person. If a child is born not 6 months prematurely, but after 6 months of development, that is a person. So at what point does it become the person? If the child is born just a month prematurely after 8 months of development, then you have a person. No. The actual personhood comes in at the moment of conception when, as I mentioned, the soul is infused into the body. So I would urge you to vote for this personhood amendment and give our unborn posterity, as our Constitution refers to those to come, our unborn posterity, give them the right to life so that their life cannot be taken away from them. In fact, that should be a terrible offense if somebody tries to take the life of one of our unborn posterity. I thank you for your attention.
Thank you. We have about 5 minutes left, so if you've driven 3 hours, 4 hours to get here, why don't you step to the head of the line, and if not, we'll just continue as we are. So 5 minutes left.
Chairman, members of the committee, my name is Tim Schrader, SCHROEDER. I'm appearing before you in support of life. We would all agree that life is very important. As a son or a daughter, we have had the opportunity to call or hug our mom and dad. I am here to support the unborn children that have never had the chance to phone or hug mom and dad, never had the opportunity to see the light of day or experience the joys or the sorrows of life. I am asking to give the unborn the same opportunity that you and I have had, the gift of life. Please support HB 435. Thank you.
Thank you. Further proponents, 4 minutes.
Mr. Chairman, members of this committee, my name is Nancy J. Engebretson, Nancy, middle initial J, Engebretson. And I had no coffee this morning and left my CPAP at home, so bear with me. It's hard to decide just where a testimony of this nature should begin, but I'll begin by saying when I was a young girl, age 16, I wanted to get married and have a family. Being a wife and a mom was all I wanted in this life. At 17, I had our first child. At almost 19, I had our second child. Unfortunately, after 2 years, I decided that I could no longer stay with this man, as he would not work and my children were starving. So now I'll go on as to why I'm here. I lived in a little rental house of my mom and dad's with my 2 children. Next door to me lived a young woman that lived in her mom and stepdad's little rental, and she had a little girl. She was a party-type person, and I was just what I wanted to be, a mom. I didn't go out. I stayed at home with my babies. When she'd go out on the weekends, I would watch her child for her. One weekend night, she came home to my house to pick her child up. She brought with her 2 young men from the bar band. They had, of course, all been drinking liquor. We did visit for a few minutes, and she proceeded to go into the bedroom to get her little girl. The young man she was attracted to went into the room with her to get that little girl. While they were in there, the other man that was with them raped me. Although I struggled to keep him away from me, I could not overpower him, and the other 2 adults did not come to my aid. I did conceive, was very distraught, didn't know what to do. I called the sheriff's office, and they told me that that man was on his way to Wyoming, that he had been picked up on a warrant from Wyoming. And in those days, there was nothing that they would really do to help a young woman. What offense he went back to Wyoming on, I don't know. They wouldn't tell me. And that was the end of my thoughts of pressing charges. I spoke with a friend about this, and he brought me some kind of pills, and I can't tell you what the pills were, but he said they were to make me abort. He said he'd watch my 2 little ones while I went into the bathroom to take them. I flushed them down the toilet. Why? Because I've always felt like life is God's to take, not ours. I lived a life of fear and horror during the pregnancy because I did not dare talk to my family, as they already believed that without a dad in the house, I, being a young mom on AFDC, should not have these 2 little children. So I couldn't stand the thought of being without them. So I didn't do or say anything that would put me in the position that I'd have to have my babies taken from me. The closer time came for the arrival of the unborn child, the more confused and afraid I was. The friend that I confided in wanted to adopt the child if it was a boy. And he married after I had had the child, and I let him adopt him. I couldn't raise the child. I felt like I wouldn't be a fair mom. I felt that every time I looked at him, I would feel hate. Even though I could give him life, I didn't feel like I could give him love, I guess, because of the act that was done against me. It was very vicious, very violent. No matter, it's just not fair to the child nor a healthy environment for my other children. I had received 3 photos of the boy after his adopted dad married. At age 17, the boy came to meet us, his biological family. He had moved to another state after that, and he came to visit. He was about 21 or 22, and he called me. That was the last time I heard from him for approximately 20 years. I decided that I could, through prayer, maybe have some kind of relationship with him. I got on the computer and I proceeded to try to locate him, and I was successful in doing so. We began emailing and talking on the telephone occasionally. Just prior to Mother's Day last year, he called me and he thanked me for believing the way that I believe. He thanked me and said he was so glad that I did not murder him. On Mother's Day, he posted on Facebook that he has 2 mothers to wish Happy Mother's Day to, his biological mother and his mother that raised him. That was one of the greatest gifts that I have ever received. I, unlike 2 friends of mine, did not live with the thought that I had murdered my child. Whether I could raise him or not, I did give him life. You see, I feel we're not to be the judge and jury that convict these little innocent children. We're merely instruments by which the Lord uses to make another life possible, even if it's not planned or wanted. My son's mom and dad were blessed by him, as he's a very talented, ambitious young man who has been a mayor of a town. He's been a business owner. He plays piano beautifully and sings to entertain folks. He's now 49 years old. I had felt that I was guilty and responsible for this pregnancy as I opened my door to that beast and let him come into my home. I felt ashamed for a long time. And then I married a man and have been married to him for 48 years. And he's a wonderful man. He got me to understand that I had nothing to feel guilty or ashamed of. Excuse me. I would like to leave you with this thought, and it's a quote from something that I had picked up that I thought was very appropriate. Not only does a man possess a spirit which enables him to function in spiritual realm, he also possesses a soul, which is an organ of his self-conscience. The soul is the seat of human personality. The ingredients which makes us human beings belong to the soul. The intellect, thought, ideals, love, emotion, understanding, decision, choice, and other like qualities are all associated with the soul. The 3 main functions of the soul are the will, that's found in Job 7:15. The mind is found in Lamentations 3:20. And the emotion in 2 Samuel, Deuteronomy 6. The will is the instrument for making decisions and choices. The second function of the soul is the mind, the instrument for thinking. It is in this part of the soul that man reasons and has knowledge. And you'll find that in Proverbs. The third function of the soul is the emotion. This is the instrument of likes and dislikes. Through the emotions, we are able to express love or hatred, joyfulness, anger, sadness, or happiness. A shortage in this area will render us insensitive. By a careful study of the Bible, we cannot help but be impressed that these 3 primary functions of the personality belong to the soul. When
Miss Engelbert,
when do a soul and
we're way past time.
Okay,
so
when
I'm
do a
sorry.
soul and spirit enter the body upon conception? Yes, these little ones are persons. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm sorry, but I would like each of you to come up to the mic and state your name and your position. I'm sorry, we just don't have the
Mr.
time
Chairman,
we
members
need,
of the committee, my name is Dave Lewis. I live in the Helena Valley. I'm here on my own time today. I served 7 sessions in the legislature. I just want to say votes on protecting the rights of the unborn are the most important votes you will take, and I know you know that, and I hope you can take that into consideration when you cast your vote. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, committee, my name is Jerry O'Neill. Indian children in Montana, unborn Indian children in Montana do not have civil rights. Let us give civil rights to unborn babies in Montana, Indian, black, white, and all. Let us give them personhood. If you want to know the rest of what I have to say, read my handout.
Thank you. If you have testimony, if you would pass it up and just give us your name and your position, please.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, my name is Margaret Mullally. That's Mullally. I come from Hamilton, Montana, and I support this bill. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman and committee, my name is Bill Kozlowski. I'm here with my 6 children and soon to be 7th in the womb.
Bill, could you spell your last name?
It's Kosloskey, and we support this bill. We rose at 1 a.m. to drive here from Kalispell, and I wish we had more time to testify
I'm
today.
sorry about that. I wish we had more time also.
Mr. Chairman and committee, my name is Russell Suor. That's with 2 L's. And even when I spell my last name, you still won't get it right. It's spelled S as in Sam, U-O-R. In our house, we buy Suor cream. Anyway, I support this bill. And for the case of the unborn, I wish I could bend your ear for a little while because I have a lot of considerations for all of you. I concur with everything that's been said, but I have some other thoughts, and
thank you.
Sorry that I can't share them.
Me too.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, my name is Ramey Habrick. I'm from Bozeman, Montana. Last name is spelled H-A-U-B-R-I-C-H. And I'll leave you with one thought. It says, "For God so loved the world that he gave his one and only begotten Son, that whosoever believeth in him shall have everlasting life. He poured out his lifeblood
Thank you.
that we may have everlasting life." Thanks.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, my name is Dan Happel, spelled H-A-P-P-E-L. I'm from Pony, Montana. I'm here gratefully because my parents did not believe in abortion, and I've accomplished a lot in my life, and that would not have happened. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, I am Vivian Allen, A-L-L-E-N, from Hungry Horse, Montana. I rise in favor of House Bill 425 and especially urge my honorable representative from Hungry Horse to vote yes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Chairman and members of the committee, I'm Jill Shepard, S-H-E-P-H-E-R-D, from Whitefish, and I am in support of this bill.
Thank you.
I hope you will be too. Thank you.
Good morning, Carrie Beebe, B-E-E-B-E, from Yellowstone County. I urge your support of this. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, committee, my name is Jeannie, J-E-A-N-N-I-E, Poe, like, you know, that Raging Edgar Allan guy, and I support this bill. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair Committee, my name is Hollis, H-O-L-L-I-S, Poe, P-O-E. My grandson's name is Jesse Poe. He was aborted.
Thank you.
He is a person. He is no less human or more human than the rest of you. Please keep that in mind. Thank you.
Are there further proponents? Quickly come to the mic. Thanks. State your name, please.
Gary Hopkins, H-O-P-K-I-N-S. I live here in Helena. I'm speaking for myself. For the last 22 years, I've
Thanks, Gary.
worked
We
as
just need your name. I'm sorry.
Mark K. Stevens, here on behalf of my wife, Manabasket Ministries, and I would just say...
Thank you, Mark. We appreciate it.
On further bill, I just want to tell you...
Mark, I'm sorry.
Well, you can give me 15
no,
seconds?
I can't.
Can I write
didn't let
something and give
anybody.
it to you?
You can give us a testimony, yes. Just write it out, and we'll
Okay,
put it
thank
on
you,
the
sir.
record. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Todd Bernhardt, Bernhardt. I am from the Flathead, and I am a proponent. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there further proponents?